But the bottom line is when you say
Excuse me.
Bayful.
Thank you for speaking while I'm interrupting.
Literally.
While I'm
Well,
speaking.
literally. No, you said
If I may
Bayful.
finish. If I may finish.
You can't be on both sides.
Gentlemen, you'll have your turn.
One of the challenges
So listen up.
we should have
Please focus on the issues that matter. We know he did this in China. Everybody knows that.
If I may address,
focus on holding Joe Biden accountable. That's what we need to be focusing on.
I actually agree with Ron DeSantis.
Speak at the same time.
So if you couldn't understand any of that, you were not alone. The Republican candidates on stage at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library last night mostly focused on attacking each other rather than the front runner in the polls, Donald Trump, talking over each other a lot. Trump was instead on stage by himself in Michigan, speaking to a crowd of mostly non-union auto workers and criticizing the strike against Detroit's Big Three. That's a tight shot there. Meanwhile, in Washington, it appears the far-right Republicans in the House are ready to shut down the government over one key funding item. We'll tell you what that is just ahead.
Yeah. So, Willie, the debate last night, we're going to get to it and play more of the clips, but just overall, I had one Republican leader, one contributor, one of everything after another. Just they were texting and calling, all saying the same thing. What a mess! What an embarrassment! What a disaster!
It was a lot of what we just showed in that clip, talking over each other, the moderators having lost control of things, some very cringy moments, awkward moments. Nikki Haley, if you wanted to pick somebody, she had several adult moments, but for the most part, you were watching and thinking, wow, this is, as some people put it, the kids' table, where they're all fighting for second place, as Donald Trump sits comfortably at home. And you watch that. You watch it and you ask yourself, why would Donald Trump ever participate in that debate? With the lead he has, why would he, step into that fight? And I think a lot of people, the analysis, you're kind of going through the usual motions of a debate, like who won, who lost, and what should we expect tonight? I guess the only question is, does any of it really matter? Some things could change, of course. We've got 4 major federal indictments, 91 felony charges against the president. I guess some people are trying to hang around long enough to see if that impacts Donald Trump. But it's hard to say. Anybody won last night? Did anybody stand out?
Yeah.
I don't know. We all watched, and I guess you could say Nikki Haley did pretty well. Chris Christie, again, the only one going after Donald Trump. He'll be on our show again this morning. I did note that one thing didn't come up. The former president of the United States suggested, I should say, for the execution of General Milley, and that didn't come up at the debate. I'd be curious to hear what all those candidates think about that.
Yeah, it didn't come up, wasn't asked. But that's really par for the course.
Well, that's what Molly Jong-Fast was talking about yesterday, where the media has to cover the stories that are news.
Right.
And the fact that that wasn't asked, or the massive fraud liability that went down yesterday, I mean, this is one universe versus another that actually lives on facts. These candidates weren't asked about anything.
Well, I mean, the fact, you had the Milley basically invitation to assassinate. You had Donald Trump looking like he was going to get shut down from doing business in the state of New York. And you had Donald Trump also saying that he was going to shut down NBC and Comcast. And Jonathan Lemire, that's something that those two really extreme things that he put on Truth Social were what the Wall Street Journal editorial page correctly brought to attention. Said, guys, gals, if we keep going in this direction, this guy who just said these things is going to be your nominee.
And
if he's your nominee, there's a reason why the people in Biden world think they're going to win. And you looked on that stage and everybody yelling at each other last night. And I do think that Nikki Haley probably stood out among the best. But it's so split up. It's just like 2016. They're splitting themselves up. 5% here, 7% there, 9% there. And for people who say it doesn't make a difference whether it's split or not, there's CBS YouGov poll that I'm sure you're aware of. I don't know if everybody watching is, but in the early states, Iowa and New Hampshire, in both states, you have about 75% of the voters who say they're open to voting for somebody other than Donald Trump, that they're looking there, and a large chunk of them, about a third in each of those states, are saying they will not vote for Donald Trump. So there's an opportunity. Last night was another blown chance to get those people united behind somebody that can actually beat the guy who says the chairman of the Joint Chiefs needs to be assassinated.
Yeah, last night was chaotic. It was messy. It was sloppy. A lot of major topics were not addressed. Vivek Ramaswamy, unknowingly or not, had the line of the night where he thanked someone for speaking while he was interrupting, because that's what it was, because everyone was just shouting at the other, and it was hard at times even just to hear what anyone was saying last night. And certainly there was no real breakthrough moment. There were some cringy moments and some pretty bad one-liners we can get to later. But there is, to your point, Joe, about the polls, there's still this appetite, seemingly, to have someone else step forward to be the Trump alternative. And for a long time, it was perceived to be Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, and his campaign has been in a free fall. And there was nothing last night. He didn't fare poorly, but he also didn't do all that well. There was nothing last night to suggest that his slide is going to stop. There is some chatter among Republican donors right now that maybe Nikki Haley could be that person, in part because in the head-to-head polls, and we're very early, but in the head-to-head polling, she fares the best against President Biden. So maybe she would be that choice, and she has done pretty well in these debates. I'd argue a little better in the first one than last night, but she is sort of the adult in the room. But the question is, with Trump's lead so big, are Republican donors really going to throw their money at Haley right now if potentially it's a waste? That's going to be the choice here. Do we see some of these candidates drop out potentially to give Haley a chance to be the alternative? At least right now, no one is. And no one is. And the more the candidates stay in, the more divided it gets, the better, of course, it is for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and Elise Jordan, as far as lines of the night go, I've got to say Nikki Haley, borrowing from Happy Gilmore, was a great move after Vivek's answer, and basically uses the Happy Gilmore line. Every time you talk, I feel a little more dumb. You are awarded no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That's basically what she did. So let's give her props at least for, borrowing from Happy Gilmore.